I don't think that they realize like, right away you think you're good. Once you get
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop and you start doing like learning like this and learning a little bit of that and you design anything, you're just like, I'm filthy. But it takes a minute for you
Yeah.
to realize that you aren't as good as you think you are.
Yeah, you're just a little bit dirty. You're not filthy at all. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jesse Nyberg Podcast. Today we have on Sam Bledsoe, super cool digital artist and designer. Goes by Samborghini on the different channels. And let's get right into it. How you doing, man? Coming back from San Diego?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I think what were you doing out there? Just visiting?
Yeah, my sister flew down there, just a little quick family vacay. She has some little kids, some like a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. So we're just having some good, wholesome fun down there.
Nice. Yeah, how
Yeah,
old are you, by the way? If you don't
I'm
mind me asking.
34.
34. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's so weird, like just kind of figuring out people online and whatnot, like especially in the creative field, a lot of people aren't like fully out like all these pictures of themselves. So it's hard to even know like how old people are or anything like that.
Definitely. Well, I was hyped that you had me on here because I noticed like in your bio or something I saw you said like you're like I'm trying to there needs to be more interviews with young designers and then
Mhm.
you invited me and I was like, "Oh, he still considers me young."
Yeah. Yeah. You felt flattered.
Yeah.
I think the issue was, I guess because I've said something of that sort multiple times. And I think what I mean by young isn't necessarily the designer, but the people that know who they are young. Because, like everyone knows, like, at least that's formally taught, everyone knows like Draplin and like Paul Rand and all these like OGs. But I know a lot of the
Yes.
people that are just self-taught online, they have no idea who those people are. And they're just like, they're way more impressed by seeing that I got someone like that's just popular on Instagram or whatever. It's a whole
Yeah,
different
that's
thing.
interesting. That's the name of the game these days.
Yeah. When did you start getting into the like heavy airbrushing type stuff that you've been doing a lot lately?
Good question. I started that. I had an art show. I think it was 2018, winter 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was just like, I'm just gonna do an airbrush thing, and I want to do something different for this like art show. I was just like printing out like sublimated like prints on fabric, and I was just
Yeah.
framing them. And I was like, I'm gonna do something totally different, and each piece is gonna have this airbrush feel to it. And I was like super nervous because my stuff before that was all
Kind of
like
like
flat.
American traditional, it feels like almost some of your older stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly. It was like heavily tattoo inspired. It was simple. It was like wonky. It was flat. It was like very much like what was happening at that time
Yeah.
with like a lot of designers. And I figured out how to do it on the iPad. And then I was like, this is like a scary moment for me, but I'm just gonna like really lean into it. And like at first it wasn't that well received. When like
Oh, really?
the art show, like yeah, it didn't do that well. And like I don't know, it was okay, but I just stuck with it.
Were you that's cool though that you felt that you liked it, and you're like, I'll keep doing it. Let's see where it goes.
I just wanted to like switch it up because I was like, I didn't feel like the tattoo stuff was 100% me because like I'm not a tattoo artist.
Hmm.
And I just I just wanted to do something different, Like
Yeah.
I love the traditional stuff. Like I have like tons of tattoos that are like that style.
Yeah, like this
Um
kind of shit or whatever. Bold lines and
exactly.
everything.
But like part of me felt like a little bit disingenuine and that like
Mm.
it needed to stay in the tattoo world kind of.
Yeah, that
And I
makes
didn't
sense.
and I didn't want to just keep on like stealing imagery. Not stealing, but just like using it for graphic design purposes. And then I don't know. I just kind of still do the same subject matter, like skulls and stuff, but just like
Right.
a different style.
Yeah, because with the bold line like traditional style like tattooing, there's only so many like elements in like the lore or whatever you want to call it. You know, you got like the pinup girls, the daggers, the skulls, the naval shit, and like that's kind of it until it
And
gets to
animal
like,
heads.
yeah, exactly, and very like symmetrical, you know, or just cut off animal heads. So it makes
Yeah.
sense that you felt like there could be more and you can expand on it. I think I was looking through your page and it seems like the airbrushing, like you really evolved it. Like it's gotten even better and better each time.
Yes, maybe that's why it wasn't well received when I first did it, because the first stuff wasn't like it got better. That's for sure.
Yeah. And it's all Procreate you're doing that in?
It's all well, I started in Procreate. I draw everything in Procreate, and like I do elements, like I piecemeal them,
Yeah.
depending on the design, and then I bring it into Photoshop and I finish it in Photoshop. In Photoshop, I just like I'll like mess with the colors, and then I'll add a grain at the very end, like a grain overlay.
Yeah. Kind of polish it up. It's crazy because the Photoshop thing, you know, you're just kind of doing the final touches. But from when I look at it, that grain is like important. I really like changes the way that it looks and it has like a nice feel to it.
It really does. Grain does so much for that style. Like it like blends the colors, it adds a little speckle, it makes
Yeah.
it look like paint splattered. It's just the real like just it just finishes it so nicely. And everyone asks me too, like, how do you do it? And I'll tell them because it's a one step thing that's like
Yeah.
so easy. I just go to in Photoshop, I go to noise and then the drop down, and I go to I can't even think of it. I gotta look at my Photoshop. I
The
go
filter
to
gallery or whatever.
oh yeah, filter, and then I do noise, add noise on a new layer, and then I just go to the layer transparency and I put it on overlay, and then I put it to like 37% or something
Hmm.
around there, and that's all you got to do. And you
Yeah.
can do it to like any design that has a gradient. Like you can do a circle in Illustrator and like add a gradient, and then like add. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to add noise. Like everyone has different ways of doing things, but that's
Right.
how I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just funny stuff like that in like the design world. There's such like small things that make like insane differences. Like even if you'll go in at the last minute and like just hit the like hue slider to the left a little bit, or like throw on like some kind of texture or just like some grittiness, whatever you want to do to finish something off. And it's just like, holy shit, like that was good. Now it's great, you know? And it's just something so simple like that.
Exactly.
Do you run
And
into,
the problem with that is sometimes I'll finish a design and then I'll fiddle with it for like 3 hours.
yeah,
And I'm just like,
yeah.
it's just like never finished.
Hmm. That's like the kind of like curse of like when you have unlimited time. I'm not saying you always have unlimited time, but when you do, you just spend more time doing small things that you would have already finished if you were on a constraint, you know?
Yeah. And then sometimes you just go back to like pretty much the original that you
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. You just turn off all the layers. You're like, it looks pretty good. And then you're like, oh, I didn't even add anything at the end
Yeah.
of the day. Do you ever have problems with that style? Like if you're working on, let's say, a commission or something maybe larger format where it's like, since it's not vector, it doesn't scale right or anything?
That's a great question. I don't. And like I've even done that style and recently, well, I drew it like a few years ago, but it just for the company RipnDip, I
Yeah, I
did
saw
like
it the other day. I was
the
going to ask you
airbrush
about that.
cats, and then they blew it up, and I didn't even know they were going to do this. They blew it up and wrapped their whole store
Hmm.
around it, and I was nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember what resolution I did that in, right?
Yeah,
And I went and I saw it in person, and I looked at it, and I was examining it, and it looks good. So I was
yeah.
surprised.
Because you just gave them like the image, right? And they just went with it.
Yeah, I think I did actually give him like a huge file. It was like 40 inches by 40 inches in Photoshop, 300 DPI.
Yeah. Because I mean, I saw it the
Dude,
other
we're getting
day.
really nerdy with it right now. I like it. I just use the word DPI. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's a buzzword. Now we have to throw that into the SEO to get the rankings. I saw
already know.
the cat thing the other day, and I was like, oh shit, that's Sam's thing. And from far it looked fine, so I didn't get up to it though. I was just driving on it's on Fairfax, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and because you're in Venice, right?
Yep.
So do you just do all your work out of like a home, just your house studio type thing?
Yeah, I was in Venice up until a month ago. Then we moved to Marina del Rey. It's
Mhm.
nice and quiet here. And yeah, I just have like an apartment. I just work out of my apartment.
Yeah, it's only like, what, 5 miles away, but it's infinitely more grown up sounding to live there than
It's
Venice.
actually even closer to that. I live like a mile or like less than a mile from my old apartment, but it's just like
Oh
night
shit.
and day. Yeah, once you cross that street, Washington, where it's just like party central, and you go into Marina del Rey, it's just like quiet and like
Yeah.
peaceful.
It's like almost like it's Orange County or something all of a sudden.
It is, but probably better people here than Orange County.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Do you like living though, kind of coastal then, it seems like over there?
Yeah, I do. I'm originally from Seattle, actually,
Oh,
and I moved down here a year ago, like right before the pandemic. I used to live here like 6 years ago.
oh,
Then
that's
I moved
it.
back to
Okay.
Seattle, but I lived downtown LA last time,
Mm.
which I like too. But now, yeah, now that I live like on the water, I don't know if I could not live
Yeah.
on
I
the
was
water.
downtown the other day. Um, it's weird out there right now because I was there late at night and it just feels so empty because you have these big buildings and it's like if it's anytime past like 11 midnight, there's really no one besides people like racing their cars and shit. Like those are the only cars out on the road.
That was downtown LA when I lived there.
Really, even then?
Yeah, like it's like at nighttime, there's not much going on down there.
Yeah, it's like very eerie. It feels like you're in Walking Dead or something, just walking around over there.
Yeah.
Do you one thing I was
Just
reading about is the art this like that article I think it was that was written about you and it was like the headline was Macklemore's designer or something like that, and I was wondering if you can tell
yes.
me about that, like how are you connected with him and what that even means exactly.
Of course, great question. So when I was living in Seattle, this is in like 2017, I think I want to say. I've known Macklemore since I was in high school.
Hmm.
I'm really good friends with his little brother. So when we were in high school, we would throw parties at his little brother's house.
Yeah.
It's Macklemore's like parents' house. And Macklemore is there and he's like buying us drink, he's buying us alcohol, he's kicking it. He's like the cool older brother that I always looked up to, and he was
Yeah.
always a rapper. And I just thought he was super cool and like never knew that he was gonna become this like really
Huge
famous
thing.
rapper. Yeah. But when he did become a famous rapper, he reached out to me and was like, "Can you design some of my merch?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And at this point, this is for his like other like later albums, so he had already been like super famous or whatever. So it was a big deal. So I designed like his merch line for his album Gemini, and then I don't know how Seattle magazine reached out to me and they're like, "We want to interview you." And at this
Hmm.
time, I had just dropped my clothing line and it was in Zoomies. And I kind of was like, "Oh, I think they want to like interview me because of that." And like they kind of did, but it was also like, I think to appeal to like the average like Seattle reader, like if you see that magazine in the stands, like it was like the headline, right? Like our parents would buy it, like, "Oh, Macklemore's t-shirt guy," as opposed to like, so that was like the
Yeah.
headline.
Instead of it saying like Samborghini, they're gonna be like, "What is that?" Like some random parent.
Exactly. They don't care who Samborghini is. But Macklemore t-shirt guy, they're like, "Yep, cop that."
That's such a funny, like I guess title. You know, I would just put that on stuff because it's kind of ironic to just have it like Samborghini designer, Macklemore's t-shirt guy, artist, or whatever
I'm
on your
he would think that's
LinkedIn or
really
some
funny.
shit.
He's a funny ass dude. I'm gonna change my IG profile after this.
So do you basically then it sounds like you're still kind of in contact with him. You known him growing up, and he kind of just connected with you to get you to do his stuff because he was already familiar with you, basically?
Yeah, like he followed me just like because we're friends, and then once I started getting better at graphic design, then he reached out to me because he's followed
Mm.
me forever, but he didn't want to use me because I was not very good at the beginning.
He was just
And then like
lurking.
we went out to lunch, and he was like, "All right, I want you to do my stuff." And then like we were going over my stuff, my design, and I was like, "I'm glad you reached out to me now." And he was just like, "Yeah, because you got better." Like he
Yeah.
like said it right there.
It's funny because you would think, younger you maybe would have kind of thought weird about that. Like, oh, I wish I could have worked with him already, but it's so much better probably that it happened that way because now that's seen by so many people. You're probably glad it happened after you were a lot better and he didn't just give you the job cause.
Exactly. Because when you're on like that big of a platform and a level, like there's a lot of eyeballs on it,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be putting out anything that you're going to regret later. Like even the stuff that I did for that album, I look back at and I'm like, ooh, I could draw that so much better now.
Yeah. I think that's how it always is, though. I talked about this with other people. It's such a it's a good problem to have that you think your old stuff sucks because that means you're getting better. You're not the same.
Dude, I agree with you, and I think it's interesting and weird because I always compare, I don't know why, I compare graphic designers to rappers, and rappers' albums, arguably, their first album is typically their best album, right?
Hmm.
And they're always like just
Yeah.
spitting the
And
hard.
there's the
Then
sophomore
after that,
curse and all that.
they kind of fall off after that. But graphic designers are like the opposite. Our first stuff is like not that good, and we just kept getting better and better and better. Like every designer, I don't ever look at a designer
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't like this new stuff. I'm like, nah, I like all this new stuff.
Yeah. No designers like drop like Illmatic or anything. It takes a while for us to figure it out.
Yeah.
But Nas is like the opposite of a designer.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I think I guess the only way I could see that happening, and it's not even oh, this person objectively got worse. It's just maybe they switched it up. For example, like someone being like, "Oh, I miss Sam's American traditional style stuff." That's just preference though, not how good you are at it.
That's true. There probably is a big handful of people out there that miss the old stuff.
How is it working with all these different, because I know you have your own brand, but you work with a lot of different clothing brands that are in like retailers too as well, right? Like collabs.
Yep.
How is that stuff? Like, is it do they reach out to you and they know kind of what they want? They want you to bring your kind of style, or do they have something in mind usually?
Usually, yeah, they reach out and usually they're like, everyone just wants airbrush pretty much. So like, we
Yeah.
want the airbrush. Usually it's like the more like realistic type of airbrush because I kind of have, when it comes to airbrush, I kind of have two different styles. I have like a kind of like the gangster, like where it looks like it's like kind of wonky and like it's like has the black outline and it's not like photorealistic or
Not
whatever.
Berry Farm style. That's what I think it looks like. Like fools that would do it at the amusement parks, but in a better way.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I have that style, which I love to do because that style is just me like fucking around, like messing around on the iPad, like just going for it, not like looking at a reference. But yeah, usually they just DM me. They'll be like, "Hey, we want this," and um, I don't, I don't really take on freelance unless it's like some big like huge company or something. So yeah, I say no to everyone. I get a lot of DMs like for freelance, which is like a blessing, but like I don't do freelance just because I have a full-time job. In addition to doing Samborghini, I work for Universal Music Group.
Hmm.
So I just don't have time to do freelance. So I just like say no to everyone and I feel really bad. But if it's like a Nike or something, like you can't say no to that.
Yeah, you just got to do it. But
Yeah.
I just had to sneak that in there for you. But
But it's fun. But like to keep going on with your question, they get what I like about the freelance stuff when it's a client that's like really big. I like it because they give me the creative direction, and then I don't have to do that part, like the thinking part. Because like
Yeah.
coming up with your
Hmm.
own designs, like my Samborghini stuff, it's a lot of thinking, which is fun. Like I love doing my own stuff. But when say like Chinatown Market reaches out to me, Mike Sherman will just be like, "Hey, we want this," and like he is an amazing creative director. He's like super. He's just a creative like genius,
Hmm.
pretty much. So anytime I can work with him and he gives me my ideas and I get to make come to life, like that's amazing, and like it's fun to collaborate like that.
Yeah, it's I think people think from the outside looking in, a designer wants to always be able to do whatever they want, but that becomes some of the hardest tasks sometimes if there's it's just like when they, yeah, the creative direction can be a hindrance, but only if it's bad. If they have it figured out and it's dope, then it's nice to just come in and execute, you know?
Typically, the people that I work with, it'll be like a streetwear brand or like they have good creative direction. Like the bad creative direction is when it comes from like a client who isn't creative. Like if you're doing like design work for say someone who's like a landscaper or something,
Yeah.
and they're like, we want this. It's like, okay, well, the landscaper. I mean, maybe the landscaper is going to have some fire creative direction, but most likely, probably not.
Yeah, and then you have to like go through all the like things of just getting the brand strategy or whatever figured out before you can even start designing and explaining to them like why this won't work and like because I have a landscape's kind of a good example because I've had a logo people coming to me for a logo and they're like so it's a family business so we want the family in it. It has to have like 6 lawn mowers, we want all the trees and we want
Yes,
the finished house also like in the logo and you're like okay I mean
but they want too much, and exactly, they're like, we want the 6 people to represent this, and each tree will have 6 leaves, and like, it's like, all
yeah.
right, like this is a logo here. We can't fit all of this in this logo.
Yeah, and then they want to fit it on like the little business cards, that they give out at the like landscaping convention or whatever they would be at.
Yes, of course.
Chinatown Market, I feel like that's such a dope like person to work with. The stuff you did with them is super cool and they're always just putting out crazy stuff. And I like that you said they have good creative direction because not only that, they're like so smart online, the way they market on like Twitter and like just the way they joke and like they're just so
They know how
relevant.
to they know how to speak to the youth. And the funny thing about Chinatown Market is that Mike Sherman doesn't know this. Is like 4 years ago, before I was ready for like on the level to be working with him, I
Yeah.
DM'd him and was like, "Hey, can I do a design for you? Like, I'd love to collab, like super nerdy style."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was like, "No, not looking for collabs right now." And I was like, okay, cool." And then like a couple years later, he DM'd me and didn't see my old DMs and was like, "Hey, can you like do something for us?" And so it's just funny how that works, that he reached back out and then doesn't know that he rejected me like a few years before.
Yeah, I've had a similar situations happen on Instagram and I always wonder, do they look up and see like what I hit them up in 2016 asking for advice and now they're hitting me up as like a peer because I hope they don't see that anymore because this would be awkward.
Yeah, that's true. It's a great feeling though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool when like especially with doing YouTube and stuff and just being like I don't know, like out more in terms of like the producing more content and just trying to build like networks. It's cool to get like just something as simple as like the follow back from someone that you followed for so long and like looked up to. Cause then it's like, it doesn't matter, but it matters like in theory. Cause they're just like, I see who you are, and that's just like a cool feeling.
Yeah, it's great. And then also it motivates you. Well, it motivates me personally. If I have one of my design heroes follow me, then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I have to bring like
Hmm.
top-notch designs. I can't lack. I can't put anything out that's like I wouldn't want this person to be disappointed by.
Yeah. That's intimidating, but that is a good way to put it to ensure that you're not putting out nothing whack. Who did you like working with out of all those different companies you collabed with? Like, what was your favorite?
Mm, I will say RipnDip's really easy to work with because he approves the designs first try. He's just like, "Yep, no corrections. Like
That's dope.
that's good to go." Damn. I mean, probably Chinatown Market because he does like the Mike Tyson collab that I got to do was
That was
just so
sick.
cool. And Mike Sherman had really good creative direction, and he kind of just lets me kind of also do like whatever I want to do. And I mean, that's just like an insane collab. And then after it gets produced, then like Mike Tyson's like wearing the shirt, which is
Mm,
just kind of insane.
yeah, that's unreal.
Um, so yeah, probably Chinatown.
Yeah, that
They're
seems.
changing their name actually.
I know. I don't know if like it's like illegal for me to say that now or anything, but I saw they
Well,
put
yeah,
that tweet out.
they did the right thing, and like now all the stuff that is being, we just had a Erica Badu collab come out that I did for
Hmm.
them, and I did the design, and all the money is like going to like a actual New York Chinatown foundation. So
Dope.
like I feel like they're doing their part.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they're doing that, and I feel like it's just kind of like a extra measure. But I also think that it doesn't seem like they had any like ill intentions to begin with. You know, I just think now they want to just be extra safe with all like the bad shit going on. They don't want to be involved with anything negative in
Yeah,
a way.
absolutely.
Um, that must have been pretty sick though, seeing Mike Tyson with the shirt. Like that would have blew my mind just going online and seeing that, or however you saw it.
Yeah, it was just online. It was crazy. He's actually worn my designs before, but it was way less cool because it was I used to work for Tommy Bahama and he
Oh
was wearing
yeah.
a Tommy Bahama shirt at the time.
Yeah.
So that was tight, but seeing him wear a Mike Tyson shirt I designed for Chinatown Market, that was a little bit cooler.
I saw something. I was looking at your stuff about Tommy Bahama. It was that like a client of yours, or you actually worked there as like a designer?
I worked there in Seattle full time, and it was surprisingly like the most amazing job and learning experience because they have a whole art department, not just graphic designers. They have a whole department of classically trained painters that are in there all day just painting tropical leaves with like gouache and watercolor
Right.
and like all these different techniques. Like they're doing like dyeing and stuff. And so I was on that team and they taught me how to like paint with gouache and watercolor, and
That's
it was
sick.
super fun.
Those shirts are fucking comfy too. Like those big boys, you just throw one of those on your set.
They are. I'm waiting for the day where like Tommy Bahama is having a moment in fashion where like rappers have are starting to wear it, and it's like a thing. Like oh, because they're well made, they're super comfy. Like some of them do look pretty fresh,
Yeah,
and they're expensive.
they are expensive, and I think that it's funny because they used to get. I don't know about you, maybe now still, but when I was younger, everyone was like, "That's for dads," you know, and whatnot. But I was
That's the
like, I
thing.
always thought like, yeah, they are, but if you're gonna wear a Hawaiian shirt, get some good shit like that because you could actually tell the difference between that and like something from Walmart or whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know the deal. You get them in like when you're thrifting and you go through.
Yeah, with the wooden buttons and shit sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah, that shit's nice.
they're actually made out of coconut shells.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you in the lab doing that too when you worked there?
No, I wish.
Just yeah, there's a lot of coconuts in Seattle, I bet.
Oh yeah, it's so random that Tommy Bahama's based out of Seattle.
Yeah, it's so not like I guess tropical or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, not at all.
Why did you move down here? What was I guess why the first time and then what made you go back and then come back?
So what happened was I was working at Tommy Bahama and I started Samborghini and that got picked up by Zoomies and Dolls Kill and it was like taking off. So I
Mm,
quit my job at Tommy Bahama to just do Samborghini and freelance. And I did that for a year. And during that year, I started freelancing for Universal Music Group. And then
dope.
um, yeah, a year ago, they were just like, okay, well, and I was doing like a lot of freelance and like invoicing them was becoming kind of a pain in the ass. They have like this portal that you have to like
Mm.
in like,
Well,
but
it's
I
real
know like,
corporate, right? So it's like,
yeah. And, but I loved all the work that they were giving me. And they're like, do you want a full-time job in LA? And my wife was like down to move back to LA because we love it here.
yeah.
And and I was like, well, I could still do both. It's like a lot of work, but I work like 14 hours a day anyways, so whatever. So I took the job and moved down here and was working out of the Universal Music Group office for a month, and then the pandemic hit, and then I've just been holding down the same job still, but we work from home now.
And what kind of stuff do you do with them?
I do the music merch, so I design t-shirts. That's like the main thing
Oh, I see.
for all of their artists. So like I'm wearing one right now. This is an Anderson .Paak one that I did.
Oh, that's sick. Oh, for the
That's
video game shit?
yeah, he did like the Fortnite. Can't even lift it up.
Yeah, that
He
type's,
did a
I like that
Fortnite
type. That shit's cool.
concert. Yeah, I forget the name of this font. It's a really dope one. So yeah, I do stuff for all their artists. Like I wish I, so like the list is so long, but anywhere from Rolling Stones to Katy Perry to like their like heritage artists, so like Tupac and Bob Marley, Elton
That's
John,
sick.
and then like new artists like Doja Cat. And there's just so many.
What's cool about that is like, um, you get to just do your thing, t-shirt design and whatnot, but Universal plugs you with the platform or whatever, you know, by getting those clients. And are you able to, I guess, online be like, I made this? Or is it like kind of part of their Universal thing?
We are, and I don't post everything that I do. I only because I work for all the artists. So like, if I'm doing Rolling Stones, I have to do like a certain style, right? Or like Elton
Yeah.
John, I can't do like a Elton John like gangster airbrush, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I could. That
That'd be
might be
sick
kind of
though.
cool. So like I don't post that stuff, but if I want to post something, I can. They just don't want me to tag the artist.
Oh, I see. Because it's kind of like we made it, not you. Like according to the artist, like side of things and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. And I try not to be like, I made this, like because it is like a collaborative effort. Like I have
Yeah.
a creative director who gives me direction and
Mm,
and like a lot of team members that work on like the actual like clothing line, like the designing of actual garments. So I'll post like the airbrush stuff if I do it, like if it's in my style.
yeah. That's sick. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to hear all these people that, you know, from the outside looking in, you have a pretty good thing going for yourself. And I wouldn't expect you to be also working that full-time job like that.
Yeah,
Because the
I like
side
it. I
has
like it a
the
lot.
side gotten like, I guess technically it seems like your other stuff probably you would be fine with it, but you just like doing the both jobs pretty much.
Yeah, I just like doing it because I just get such cool projects and like they just keep coming in
Yeah.
and like I said, like the invoicing thing was just such a pain in the ass and yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a grind for sure, but now that we work from home, like I have a few extra hours a day to freelance at night because I'm not like commuting, you know?
Hmm.
So I get off work
It's
and I'm just like,
huge.
oh, here I am by the computer. Let's work on some Kern Club stuff.
Yeah. I always, was talking to like some of my friends and it's the working from home thing is, interesting because I'll get off my full-time job and like it's like okay and then I just move like to a different tab or whatever, you know, and I'm just still in the same seat and everything.
Yeah, you know how it is. I mean, it sucks for a lot of people, but for graphic designers, I feel like, I don't know, we kind of got a good deal over here.
Yeah, I don't like to be like out here like being all happy because people are in unfortunate situations, but this past year,
Exactly.
other than other things going on around me, purely objectively speaking, my graphic design career definitely benefited just from being here at home and everything. And I used to work in Long Beach and I would drive from, I used to live in San Dimas, which is like Covina, Pomona, like that area, San Gabriel
Yep.
Valley or whatever. And then it'd take like an hour and a half each way. And it's just like 3 hours a day of, you can't even do anything when you're in traffic either. It's not like you can, I guess you could listen to books and shit, but I don't really do that. So
Yeah, you can't draw, you can't work on this, you can't work on that.
yeah, and I had a stick then too, so that shit fucking sucked. I still do, but I mean, driving an hour and a half with no AC with the stick shift, like you don't even want to try to think about
I can
anything
only
creative.
imagine. I don't know how to drive stick shift.
Really? Yeah,
No.
it's cool.
No,
I think it's like some people are like super elitist about it, but I think whatever you want, you know. But I do definitely has a cool feeling to it. It feels because you know everything now is getting more and more away from like you doing it. So it's nice to have something that like you feel like you just control all the levers and shit, you know. It feels very like mechanical.
I'm sure I'll learn someday.
Yeah, you just got to get like a piece of shit like Camry or something because you're going to fuck it up bad. Don't buy like a nice car before you know how to do it.
Okay.
That's like the obvious strategy because I knew some
Noted.
people, they'd get like some rich kids, they'd get like a brand new like M3 or something from their parents and they just blow the clutch out instantly.
Yep.
But what you were saying with the Kern Club stuff, how did you like, I guess, how did you get into that pretty much? And then can you tell me a little bit about the guy you work with that?
Yeah, so Kern Club started because, well, I got into making fonts because I would always draw in a sketchbook when I was traveling with my wife, and I would just draw letters. Like I do hand lettering.
Yeah.
I've been good at hand lettering for a while. Like I've been drawing letters since I was in high school because I was a little shithead and I wrote graffiti in high school.
Yeah.
So like that's all I've been doing is drawing letters. And she was like, "You should make fonts. Like these are really good." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't know how to make a font. Like I'd love to make a font." And I researched it and I couldn't really figure it out. And then Dustin, my business partner, on Instagram, he's at Don't Really Care with 3 L's. He posted a font that he made, and then I DM'd him, and I was like, "Dude, that's hella sick. I want to start making fonts." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start a font foundry." And he was like, "I'm gonna call it Portland Typeco or something." And I was like, "What's your phone number? I'm gonna give you a call real quick." And then I called him, and I was like, "Dude," I think we should make fonts together, and I think we should, like, I had a name and everything. I was like, "I think we should call it Kern Club." And he was down. Like, I didn't even know him. Like, we just were like Instagram buddies, you know? And I was a fan of him and a fan of his work because he works for Lincoln Design Co. And they're like, they
Oh
were
shit.
like
Yeah.
my favorite like design agency just because the stuff they do is just
Yeah, they're
so
dope.
good. Yeah, they're really, really good. So I was just like, oh, damn, this guy is down to work with me. This is kind of crazy. So yeah, then we just made one font together. It was called Rattle Hand, and we put it out, and then we just, yeah, just it's all started like that. Like it was super organic and just fun.
That's sick. Yeah. So basically, you kind of do the original designs and get them kind of all fixed up, and then he does like the actual vectorizing and puts it into glyphs and all that, and kerns it and everything.
So I draw like a lot of the fonts, and then he kerns all of them. Like he puts it into the program, and like he spends like 18 hours each one, like kerning each letter pairing, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And like he enjoys it. He says it's like meditation for him, and he's good at it. But he designs his own fonts too. He
Okay.
designed Monroe and Monroe Serif, which are like really, he does like really clean, like perfect, like where the Beziers are perfect and like,
Yeah.
but he does some hand drawn ones too. Trying to think what he did. He did Simple Sands, which is kind of like it's almost like a thick Futura, but it looks hand done kind of,
Yeah.
and it's like has a style. But yeah, he can do it all.
That's a good like connection that you made there, because it sounds like you didn't want to be doing all the other, like that part of it, the kerning every letter and
Well,
whatnot.
I know he taught me how to do it, and I did it for like a couple fonts, but then like I don't know how. It just like somehow when you're in like a business relationship, you just kind of like mold into your little positions, and like
Mm,
it just happened that way.
yeah.
And yeah,
I
I got
watched the
lucky.
video on it, like your Chinatown Market, like what do they call it? Like the lab or something, or whatever they call that.
Um,
And you were
Blueprint.
Blueprint, and you were like, yo, yeah, I got the new, like, here's the new design. And I didn't really even know that you had to, it makes sense now that you have to figure out the relationship between each letter. But he was like, yeah, I go A through Z, and they were like, and then that's it. And then he's like, no, and then I go B through A through Z and C through A through Z.
Yeah,
That
it's a
shit's
lot. And
nuts.
then that font was just uppercase, and then if you have lowercase, and you have to do the same all over again with the
Yeah.
lowercase.
I really like that one you guys did though for that with the kind of bodega stuff. It looks so
Yeah,
cool
that
with the with you see it on the side of those coolers, like the ice and shit, and like the slushy type like fonts.
definitely. I love that stuff.
What do you like what, I guess, what font do you like that you guys have made? Which one do you like the most? Are you able to even choose?
Oh yeah. Okay, well I really do like Simple Sans, the one that he created, because it's so diverse. Like when making fonts, I'm realizing that the reason why simple fonts are so popular is because you can use them a lot for like
Yeah,
they look good blown up big as a headline. It looks good small for like a little like infographic, like body copy or something.
right.
Um, so like that one, it's just and it looks good on every design pretty much. So like that's the first one that comes to mind. But as far as like a more display type one, I did one recently called Thumper.
Hmm.
And it's just like a cross between Cooper Black and Tango. If you know Tango, you'd recognize Tango. It's like
Yeah.
it's everywhere, but it's just like a thick ass Tango. And I made for that one, I made like alternate glyphs for each uppercase,
Oh,
so
dope.
they have little swashes coming off of them.
Yeah.
It's just it's cute, it's fun, it's bold.
I really like the way you guys have set up the, like, I guess that you could call it like the branding of the business. And do you do like all those little vector illustrations? You guys both do all that stuff too, right? For it to kind of supplement the fonts and
Yeah,
everything.
so the way that actually worked too was also like another organic thing. Like we did our first font, and then I made a like Instagram post, and I randomly just picked yellow and that weird blue,
Yeah.
turquoise, and a red, and then did it. And then he was like, "Oh, I like those colors." He did design in those colors. Then he designed the website, and he just did it in those three colors. And then
Yeah.
from there, we just said we were like, we're not going to use any other colors except for these three colors in white and black, and just ran with it. And it's just like a good, easy way to like really nail in your brand
Hmm.
image, especially like when starting a new account.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes sense.
but yeah, he designs like half of the spec the type specimens or just like the Instagram posts, and then I design the other half. So he draws some and I draw some.
That's cool. Yeah. And I like the colors as well. It's kind of almost it reminds me of like a type of clown color palette or something. Like it's
Oh,
like
definitely,
a
dude.
weird
It's
primary color like alteration.
Yeah, it's like I was kind of inspired by like vintage sign paintery stuff. Like they always use that turquoise for some odd
Yeah.
reason because one shot comes with that turquoise and then red and then yellow, like one shot colors. But it does have like that circusy feel. And then we love to do the thing where we do each letter a different color.
Yeah.
Like, and so then it looks extra circusy.
Yeah. That's cool because like in that stuff, I think the Kern Club stuff is a lot more reminiscent of like what you said was like your older style or whatever for Samborghini.
Yes, that's how I can get back to my roots because I still do love drawing like that way and like it because I always will love like traditional looking like graphic design where
Hmm.
it's just flat and like bold and simple and gets a message across. So that stuff is it's really fun to draw.
Yeah, and speaking of like that, I don't think I really asked you this, but what made you want to start like the Samborghini in the first place? Because obviously you were a working designer, but that's like a pretty ambitious, pursuit, and a lot of people do it, and a lot of people can't really do it that well. Like it's hard to get into the clothing or like merch design game like that. Did you just like, were you already working with those other companies and you thought like, oh, I want to make my own shit? Or was that the other way around more?
No, I hadn't worked with anyone in the streetwear game like that. The reason I started it was because I had like an Instagram account going, and I just changed my name to Samborghini, and I started doing these like little Instagram comics, if you will. Like I would draw like a Drake lyric. Like one of my first ones was my side chick got a 5S with the screen cracked, and I drew like a little pinup girl like standing on a cracked iPhone. And then also right around that time, and it got like more likes than I had ever gotten on Instagram. So I was like, this feels kind of nice. I like this.
Yeah.
So I kept on drawing them. And then when I was at Tommy Bahama one day, they had a meeting with us, and they pulled us in, and they're like, hey, like you guys can't post like process shots on your Instagram. Because I was doing that at the time. I was like painting, and I was like posting process stuff.
Shit.
And so they pulled us in, and they kind of slapped us on the wrist, and they were like, you can't do that. You can only post final product images that come out in stores. When you're designing for a clothing brand like that, they don't come out for 2 years. So I was like, well, I don't have any art to post for 2 years, and I'm trying to grow myself as an artist and like build a name. And so I was like, and so it kind of lit a fire under my ass to keep on drawing these comics and whatnot. And then at the time, I was just like, fuck it, let's put these on some shirts and see how it goes. So I started a Printful account, like that t-shirt website.
DTG shit or DTC, whatever.
Direct to garment.
Yeah.
Super trash, but a great way to start a clothing brand. And just printed some out, shot a lookbook, put them on the website. And it got a nice response from like the local Seattle area. Like people were buying them, and I would go to like art flea markets, and I would set up a little pop-up and sell them there. And people liked them.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's came a long way from that, obviously. What's kind of your operation looking like nowadays with running that whole company? Do you have like a big team, or is it all still just you in terms of distribution and everything?
It's just me and my wife, and we run our like Samborghini.com here. And I just like run the website. She helps me with my wife's also a graphic designer, which comes like really in handy. So when it comes to like product shots and things like that, like she sets up the Shopify.
That's dope.
Like, yeah, it's amazing. And she ships everything out for us. And then I just have wholesale accounts. So I like my main wholesale account is Zoomy. So I just put together a line sheet, and then I just email my buyer at Zoomies, and I just, whatever he picks up, I just send to my printer, which is like around here in LA, and it just ship them to Zoomies and do it like that.
That's dope. Yeah, so was Zoomies like the kind of big retailer that you first got in at with all that stuff?
They are. And the way that happened is, I'm going to answer that because everyone always asks me, anytime I do like an Instagram, like questions, there's always like 5 people like, how'd you get into Zoomies? I went into my local skate shop, 35th North, and I was selling them some t-shirts in Seattle.
Like, okay.
Yeah. And they were like, you should get into Zoomies. And do you know Sean C? And he was this guy who works at Zoomies. He's kind of like, he's like a middleman between like brands and like the buyers.
Broker like, no. Or whatever.
And I looked him up on Instagram, and he followed me. I was like, oh shit, he follows me. So then I DM'd him, and I was like, hey, do you think Zoomies carry Samborghini? And he was like, probably, like we carry brands that are kind of similar to this. And then he gave me the contact to the buyer, and I made a line sheet. I knew how to make a line sheet because I had already worked for Streetwear brand before Tommy Bahama, and just sent it in, and they picked up a couple styles. And when they pick up your brand, you want to make sure that you're ready to be in the store and that your designs, like people are going to buy them because you only get one shot. Because when they pick up your brand, they do a test run. They pick up like 300 shirts and they ship them to different places in
Okay.
the US. If those sell out within like a month or two, then they give you your second chance. But if they don't and they just like sit there, if your designs aren't up to par, then that's it.
That's pretty long too. Like, that's like it's not super crazy. If those are like the exact numbers, like if your designs are good, you should be able to sell that many in 2 months in all those stores and whatnot.
It's somewhere around there. Like if you're like that's just like a guesstimate number,
Right.
but yeah.
So I'm guessing then you did well the first round try, and they were like, "Let's
They
get
did
more."
well, but also I will say that like part of the reason that they did well is because I purposely did shirts that had like other meaning attached to it besides just like throwing Samborghini on it. Like they were like rap lyrics, so like that were popular at that time, which I wouldn't do now because like I work in the music industry and I
Mhm.
can't step on toes like that, and I don't want like a cease and desist. But it worked for me at the time. Like some of them had like one of the shirts said M's in my bank account, like the 21 Savage.
Yeah. So that's really like, it's funny hearing you say that one and then the Drake one, because it's like really giving you like a frame of reference of the time,
Oh
the
yeah, you
5S.
know what year it was.
Yeah. And it also, now that your company is larger, you can have probably a shirt that's like Samborghini, because I think that's the issue I see a lot of these people run into when starting streetwear companies or clothing companies, whatever. They just put like their logo on it, and it's like no one gives a fuck who you are yet. You have to do some cool shit first before you can just be like, here's our logo tee or our basics or whatever.
You get it. And a lot of people that DM me, they're like, "How do I get into Zoomies?" And I look at their stuff, and I'm like, "This isn't gonna sell well because it's just like some random logo and like some random name that like and I'm just like, you're not ready." But I can't tell these people that, right? I'm not like, you're not ready. I'm just like, I don't even know what I tell them.
Yeah, probably nothing, right? Sometimes just
No, I always respond because Gary Vee told me to respond to every DM.
yeah.
I wish he would
I don't
never have
even
told me that though.
I don't even get like DMs like that yet, and I still feel like sometimes I'm like, I can only imagine if I was like even once if or once I get even more popular online, like it already feels hard to respond to like even 5 people a day. I can't imagine when those people that get thousands of DMs every day just trying to sort. You must have to like sit down a specific day just to look at it.
Yeah, fortunately, I'm not there yet. I get like, I don't know, 20 a day and it's manageable.
Right. Yeah, that's cool though. Like that people come to you for that, because it shows that um they think and you do have like a successful clothing company, and they just want to know, how do we get it started, pretty much. Um,
Yeah,
it's
give them
funny.
all the advice that I can.
It's funny. Like we were talking about, how you can't just have your logo, but it's crazy how on the other side of things, when your company gets so popular, people want like just the logo because it's like a flex,
Oh yeah.
like you want just the box logo or you want just the Bape head, not like the crazy designs and shit like that.
Yes, you want it to say whatever brand is popular at the time.
Yeah. It's weird that it works that way, but
But
that's
it's
dope.
great that way. Like I wish that I could just sell a Lamborghini shirt that was just that, because then you don't have to like sit and think like about these like crazy like gimmicky or like not gimmicky but like clever like jokes or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And then once you get to that point, the logo can just be worked infinitely into different things. Someone like FTP or like fucking awesome, like they basically just have different colors of their logos everywhere, and they can just sell the shirt like right when it comes out because they've already figured out the formula or whatever. And on the
Yeah, I
other
should probably take
hand,
notes on that.
you have to
I don't even have a logo
airbrush
for my
everything.
brand yet.
Oh, you don't?
Not really. Like I have gone through, I have like two that I've used, or maybe like three, but like I really want to nail down a simple symbol, like the Carhartt logo on your hat.
Yeah.
And I have like a whole page full of ones that I've designed, but I don't like any of them enough to really sit on. And I'm like questioning, I'm like, should I just pay like a Clark or something to do
Yeah.
it? Which would be weird because like I'm a designer and the name Samborghini, but I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's such a weird feeling. Being a designer, it's like a insecurity to like reach out to someone for a different expertise, even though they're obviously way better at that specific thing than you are. Like, I'm not good at illustrating. I would definitely want someone like you to do something airbrush, but I'd feel like, aren't I supposed to know how to make it though, or something?
Dude, I guess you're right. I should just reach out to him.
Yeah, but then you got to pay for it, you know? So I feel like we're all just like, well, I'll just try it myself.
But then if I can sell that logo over and over again, it'll pay
It's
itself
true.
off.
When you
We
work,
actually have speaking of Clark Orr, I'd like to make a breaking news announcement. We have a Clark Orr font coming out for Kern Club.
oh, that's dope. Hell yeah. And
We're
then is
like
that like, what, do you know when that's coming out? Because I'm trying to figure out
next
when.
week.
Okay,
Wait, no. Sorry, 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. This will probably come out like, it'll probably be like pretty parallel then. So that's
Yeah.
perfect.
So like May, early May.
Hell yeah, cool. So if it's already out, go check it out. And if it's not out yet, go follow him and wait and see when it's going to come out. When did you get the Samborghini name? And like, obviously it's a play on Ferrari, but when did you come up with that?
I came up with it in 2017 or something. Like I came up with it when I was like my video game name was Samborg when I like played Counter-Strike in high school.
Yeah.
So I just like kind of extended it like later and like then when I came out with the clothing brand, I had two names for the clothing brand. I
Yeah.
was either gonna name it it was either gonna be called After Laughter or After the Laughter, or Samborghini. And I asked all my friends, I was like, should I name it After Laughter or should I name it Samborghini? And everyone said Samborghini because I felt weird about it calling it something that's like attached to my name.
Hmm.
Like that's some weird like narcissista shit, and I didn't want to be on that. But everyone agreed, so I was like, "Fuck it, Samborghini it is." And I kind of liked it because at that time I was doing like bootleggy stuff, and Samborghini like seemed like a bootleg like Gucci or something.
Right. And it's already a play
It
on
sound
the
it
on the
sounds
on the
Italian, but it's like
Lamborghini.
not. What was that?
Sorry, I was just saying it's already a play on like Lamborghini, obviously. So like it makes sense to go with like the parody or like bootlegging culture that you were trying to design in.
Exactly.
What is like, I guess, After Laughter? What does that even mean? Why were you thinking of calling it that?
Because do you know the song that's like after laughter comes tears? It gets sampled so much in rap. It's like
Probably.
after laughter comes tears. It's like a Wu-Tang song. I
Okay.
just love that song like so much. And I was like, that's sick. Like after laughter comes tears. And I made an assumption that other people would like pick up on the reference, which was clearly not a good assumption.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if I do decide to do another brand that is like much more simple or something than what I do now, I still might call it After Laughter.
Yeah, like maybe some more like basics or like cut and sew shit or something of that sort.
Exactly. And then it'll make sense because Samborghini, like a lot of it's like kind of funny. And so like After Laughter is like, this is serious after the laughter.
See, I think those people were doing you a big favor in the long term in hindsight when you asked them all their opinions on it.
Definitely. I asked my friends for their opinions all the time.
What's cool about Samborghini too is that's so like cryptic and just like random that your designs don't have to like correspond with the word Samborghini. It can just be like whatever because it's already whatever in a way.
Yep.
So that's cool. And what like I guess I asked you who you worked with, but on your own stuff, like what are you most proud of that you put out with your own brand? Like what design or what collection?
Probably recently I call it Samborghini Chapter 1. And that is when I finally got off Printful and I started my own site was like printing like really nice screen printed
Yeah.
garments on comfort color shirts.
Yeah.
And like those designs, I spent like a lot of time thinking about, and they were like really, I don't know, like 3D looking, and they're like very polished and
Is
they're
that
loud.
snake one part of that like collection?
That it was a panther, and it was a dog, like the 3D barking dog, where it's like
Oh
a
yeah.
3D wireframe.
Yeah, that
Like
one's sick.
that design is like one of my favorite designs that I've done ever. And like the whole collection looked very cohesive, and it was really fun to do. And yeah, that was, and like from here on out, that collection kind of like is gonna guide like where the brand's gonna go. Like I want
Dope.
it to be a little bit nicer. I want it to be more thought out. I want it to be less me just like, I don't know, like whipping up a design in one night and like putting it on Printful and selling it
Hmm.
on my website.
Yeah, and you have the I think following now and stuff where you don't have to be insecure about how much you can print. Like you don't have to do Printful, you know, because you already know people want it. And like I've been when I've wanted to do stuff like that in the past, it's easy to want to use Printful because there's no real risk, you know. But
Yeah,
I've talked
I think
about
it's good for people if they're just selling like a few shirts, and if the shirt is like a novelty item,
yeah.
like I think it's a good way to start out.
Hmm. It just sucks because I've talked about this with a few other guests. As designers, like we really want to be able to do like the quality control and everything, and you have no idea what's gonna really happen when that stuff goes out.
This is true. And then like the other thing about Printful is the shipping. Like sometimes it would take a month and a half for them to ship it.
Damn.
And then people are emailing you. They're like, "Where's my shirt?" And you don't know where their shirt is. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. So you have to like make something up. You're like, the warehouse is packed up.
And I feel like it's almost taboo or something to be like, I don't know, it's not even through me. Like you want it to feel like, oh,
Yeah.
you sent it directly to them and whatnot, even if it is Printful.
People want it from you. And I actually learned that from Boss Dog. He was like, I think people really like that they know that it's coming straight from
Yeah.
me, and it's like a personal touch, and it's like has much more of like a artist feel to it, and people like that, and I get it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you spoke about the comfort colors. That's like, I've been hearing that around a lot lately. Like people really like those blanks.
They're the go-to like for like small streetwear brands like myself. It's funny because a lot of them like try to keep it a secret. They're like, don't tell anyone what you're using, dog, because they like, who knows, they want to be the only ones using comfort colors.
Yeah.
But everybody, comfort colors is the go-to, and like it shouldn't be a secret. They're hella soft. And I get a lot of compliments from people. They're like, that's the softest shirt I've ever had. And the funny thing about comfort colors is it's made by Gildan.
Yeah. I
Same
know it's such a weird thing, like just how all those little sub companies all just owned by one big thing. And it's crazy that the companies like just way bigger than Samborghini, like they still will use like shittier quality. Like that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off when people don't care about, like they know that they can do it shittily, so they do. They have no like integrity about it.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
But I mean, as long as you're doing it, you know, then we have someone out there holding it down and trying to get the shit to be real soft, because it must feel good, you know, when you're putting all that work, you're doing those, like you do like a handwritten note and whatnot, and then someone actually it actually is an investment that comes back to you, and someone says, yo, I told all my friends or whatever, like this shit's fucking sick, it's fire, like it's so good, so soft.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
What do you have, I guess actually before I get into that, I was gonna ask you what you have planned up, but one thing I wanted to ask you that was kind of like off topic, but I saw it just going through your page. Like, did you work like in the adult industry or something like that?
Yes. So I mentioned before that I worked for a streetwear brand
That's what it was.
before Tommy Bahama in 2011. Okay, well, pretty much when I got out of college, I couldn't get a job for the life of me anywhere, and I was just looking for an internship.
Yeah.
All around Seattle. I interviewed at all these advertising agencies. I thought I wanted to be in advertising.
Yeah.
The only place that would take me in was this streetwear brand called Tits, Two in the Shirt. And for
Yeah.
those who don't know what Two in the Shirt or Tits is it was a brand that shot porn stars, female porn stars, and like did like I don't know, cheeky, clever designs that said like wifey. That was like their biggest one, and like would they be on the shirt like a photo of them like wearing a bikini, and it aged super poorly, that brand, but in 2011 it was the shit, and
Yeah.
it was actually like really popular. Like everyone knew who we were. Like Bobby Hundreds liked us, and like we would go to all the trade shows in Vegas and whatnot. And my job was to design these. And my boss, Merrick, he's an awesome guy. Still friends with him. He would fly me around the U.S. to creative direct the photo shoot. So I would creative direct like models, like how to pose. I'd be like, okay, this shirt, you're gonna be sitting on a bottle of Hennessy. So like sit on that stool because I'm gonna Photoshop you on Hennessy later. So it was a fun job for a 24-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's wild. I just remember I was just looking at it like, what the hell is even going on here? Because I saw the picture of you designing with like Lisa Ann in the background or whatever, and I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? This is
One
wild.
day we had her pretend that she worked at our office. It was like a promo video.
Uh,
So she's pretending that she's like the boss, like telling me what to do. And
like fix that design or whatever.
yeah, she's super awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. Like, it's wild, when I hear it's wild and also encouraging when you hear things like seeing how well you're doing, hearing you say, "Oh, I couldn't even get an internship anywhere. That all I could get was with the job with all the porn stars and whatnot, and now you have your own brand." It's pretty cool.
Well, I was really bad. Like I looked at my portfolio that I sent in that company to get hired recently, and I was like, holy shit, like this is really bad. This is really, really bad. When people begin designing, like I don't think that they realize, like, right away you think you're good. Once you get
Mhm.
Photoshop and you start doing like learning like this and learning a little bit of that, and you design anything, you're just like, I'm filthy. But it takes a minute for you
Yeah.
to realize that you aren't as good as you think you are.
Yeah, you're just a little bit dirty. You're not filthy at all.
Yes.
Dude, I remember, just there's like this graph I remember seeing, and it's really true. Like it's like I think it was about artists, but it was a graph where it was like how experienced you are and like how good you think you are, and as you get actually better, how good you think you are actually goes down because you're so ignorant you don't even know that you're bad in a way.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But I've looked at some of my stuff and like I still want to get a lot better than I am. But I remember being so bummed when I first graduated. I applied to so many jobs, it felt like. And then I look at the stuff and I was like, well, yeah, why would they have hired me who did I think I was applying to these like 4 to 5 year experience jobs with this shitty, like just college infographics and all, whatever I had in my portfolio,
Exactly.
Did you go to school in Seattle or were you just self-taught or?
I went to Washington State University, which is like a small little college town in Pullman, Washington, and they don't have a design program. They have an advertising program.
Oh, I see.
Like you have advertising projects and you design it and you kind of like teach yourself. But my wife was going to UW, University of Washington, and she was in their design program, and they're actually like a really good design program.
Mm-hmm.
So when I graduated and she like pretty much, I would watch her and I just learned from what they taught her. They taught her like Swiss design and like on the grid and everything.
Yeah.
And only use Helvetica. Because at that time, like I was actually, I'm not joking, I was using Bleeding Cowboys, non-ironically. And then she was like, no, fam, like that does not fly. And like
she came back with the like type grid books and shit and throw them on your desk. Like, you got to look at this.
Yes. And she would clown on my kerning and we would get in like arguments. I'd be like, no, this is good. And like she taught me what kerning is and everything. And so, yeah, I learned a lot from her, fortunately.
And now you have a company that has the name Kerning in it. So it obviously worked out.
Yeah.
What do you have upcoming for Samborghini? Anything exciting or anything you can even talk about, or what you're looking forward to?
I have a bunch of new stuff dropping in Zoomies, and then I have, and this is another breaking news announcement. I haven't told anyone this except for like my best friends. I have a Nike SB collab coming out,
Nice,
and
dude.
it comes out in June 5th. Um, and it was actually supposed to already be out, and Zoomies printed like this catalog here, so like I can show you a little preview. It's a hoodie and a
That's sick.
shirt and a hat, and then
Oh
I
yeah,
also
man.
have a shoe coming out too, but I can't say which shoe it is until it comes out.
Yeah. Okay.
But the shoe has my logo on it and everything,
What logo?
or one of my logos. That's not actually my logo. It's one that I use. It's like one of my metal logos. It's like a simple like spiky looking metal logo, but
Yeah.
it's legible. It's not like a black metal logo where you can't see it and it looks like a bunch of tree roots and you're like, what the fuck is that? It's like a legible metal logo.
Yeah. Just like a bold, sharp one, pretty much. Just like an
Yeah.
aggressive serif or whatever. But that's cool, man. Like that.
Yeah.
Congrats on that deal. Did they just? How did that come about? Just pretty much they approached you, Nike.
Dude, I have the craziest luck ever. Like honestly. So the way that one worked is in 2018, I had a art show at a pizza shop called Sizzle Pie in Seattle. And I did like, I don't know, 5 t-shirt designs and I sold them in like a pizza box. And they had one in Portland. And that's where the Nike headquarters is in. And one of
Right.
the Nike SB execs went to get pizza one day and saw my
Oh, what?
shirt and was like, "What is this?" And he bought it. It said Ramboghini, and it was like Rambo like popping out of a Lamborghini like shooting. And then he DM'd me and he was like, "Hey, I work for Nike SB. Like, do you want to come down here and like we'll have a meeting and like let's do a collab?" And at this time on Instagram, I had like 5,000 followers maybe. So like I was just like, this is insane. Like what? And yeah, I went down to Nike and had a meeting. Like they were like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was just like, I don't know. Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want to do.
You're like, I was just at the
So
pizza
yeah,
art show and now I'm at the Portland campus or whatever.
exactly. So like my takeaway for people listening to that is like I would take any opportunity you can because like an art show at a pizza shop seems kind of random. Like why would you say yes to that? But like also why not? Like you never know who's gonna walk into that pizza shop. So
Yeah.
take all those opportunities.
That's dope. So does that mean that that took till now to get going?
Yeah, because there's a shoe involved and like shoes
Oh
take
yeah.
that long to from like that's their Nike's timeline.
Yeah, because I mean, they put out like so much shit. I feel like they probably have it all, timelined out to like 2030 or whatever, like some crazy shit.
Yeah, and that was also stressful because I that was pretty towards the beginning of when I started like airbrushing stuff,
Hmm.
and I wasn't sure if I was gonna stick with that style, and then also I had to like kind of predict trends a little bit because like it's like a 3D metal logo like chromed out, and chrome 3D metal logos weren't really a thing back then, and
Well, you were fucking right
yeah,
right there, man, with the
and
prediction.
now they're popping, so here we
Yeah,
go.
good stuff on that. I mean, it could have backfired, but I think Chrome in this, I mean, maybe even maybe half a year ago, even more, but you couldn't get much more trendy than that, in your prediction.
Yes, the Chrome trend is like out of this world. I on my Instagram I did a poll. I was like, what trend diagram should I do next? Because I do these trend diagrams where I take 2 trends and I blend them together and just like make a little joke about trends. And
Mhm.
there was like 3 people that were like Chrome, 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 Chrome. I love the Chrome though. I'm not hating on it.
Yeah, it's become just like I feel like even the people that hate on it, it's like they're still doing it half the time too. So it's like,
Oh
whatever.
yeah, I'm like I might make the trend diagram and then still continue doing some chrome stuff.
Just make the actual diagram chrome. It takes over the entire
Ooh,
diagram.
that would actually look really good. I think I'm gonna have to do that.
Hell yeah.
My other trend that I was gonna do, the design trend that is like I see everywhere now that I love and I've done it myself, is the human body outline. Like people love like either whether it's like the brain dead, like the profile of the face, or it's like a meditating dude,
Yeah.
and it's like that the human body. Like people, designers right now love the human body, and if you haven't seen that trend yet, you're gonna start seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna do a
hear you.
chromed out human outline.
That's dope. It reminds me of there was like in like this anime Full Metal Alchemist, they have like that shadow figure that's just like basically a outline of a body, and like there's just shadow around it, and it just looks like a inverse of like a mannequin or whatever. The negative space is creating the body and the dust is around it.
That sounds really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's
I'll throw
exactly
up
what
a
I'm talking
picture
about.
because I don't even know if I'm doing it justice. It might be the other way around, but I mean, honestly, it's all I have here pretty much that I wanted to talk to you about for now, but I do want you to plug all your stuff, and just if you have any closing notes for the podcast, just throw them out there.
Cool. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on. This was really fun. I am a design nerd when it comes down to it, and I love talking about design, and I don't get to do it often because my only design friend is like Dustin, my business partner. And we get real nerdy with it. But yeah, if you're curious what Samborghini stuff looks like, I'd probably just Google it because you can buy it at like hella different places. Or you can go to samborghini.com if you want to look at it there. Or if you want to check out some fonts, they're very affordable. They're $10 a piece, and half the fonts on our website are free. So that's like 40 free fonts at kernclub.com.
Dope. You heard it. And if you want to hear more, check out the Patreon. We're going to be doing a Q&A with a couple more stuff with Sam. And thank you again for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And everyone check out Samborghini and Kern Club. We'll get some free fonts and maybe some t-shirts. And we're looking forward to seeing the Nikes. All right, man.
Oh, yeah.
Peace out.
Peace.